voices in the blackest night, spitting tales of emerald light. Myron and Phil with the banter tight, lantern stories taking flight. Heroes clad in emerald light, cosmic battles in the dark of night. Guardians calling from the galactic height, power rings are shining bright. Tune in for the mighty lore, legends that you can't ignore. From Mogo to Sinestro's war, the podcast of Oed gives you more.
Hey, Green Lantern fans, welcome back to another episode of the podcast of Bova. I'm your co-host, Myron Rumsey, and I am joined, as always, by my friend on the other end, Mr. Phil Bova. Phil, my friend, how are you doing tonight?
Hey, man. Looking forward to recording with you. I like chatting.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Yep.
I do
I
it every week if we could force the time.
if we could find the time, we would do it every single week. You bet. You bet.
I miss the days of COVID. That was 5 years ago.
That was about
Oh,
the only good thing about COVID, wasn't it? Was recording. We were recording every week, and I
I can't
enjoyed
believe
interviewing fans and that kind of stuff. It was a lot of fun.
it was a long time. It was a long time. Five
Try
years, man.
trying to make the most of a bad situation.
Oh.
But we're going to be talking about Green Lantern number 22 in this episode. Really excited to talk about this issue. I thought it was really good. I'm really excited to discuss that. I think we originally talked about doing Green Lantern Corps, then you and I talked earlier off mic about this issue's too good. Let's do it. We've got an issue of Green Lantern Corps coming out in a week or so. And so let's just do 3 issues in one shot for that one. So I'm really excited. But before we get into it, we always have Green Lantern news. And before we get to the Green Lantern news, I want to do a quick shout out. For those that have been listening to the last few episodes, I suffered a stroke back in February. And one of our listeners, Clark, he was doing there for a while, this week in Green Lantern history kind of thing on Twitter. And he contacted me and he sent me a get well package. He sent me a couple Superpowers figures and one of the Hal Jordan McFarlane figures as a get well package. And I really appreciate it. So a big shout out to Clark and a big thank you.
And it got you well.
It did. It did. I'm doing really well. I was just telling you off mic that I have been discharged from physical therapy and occupational therapy. I started out generating 60 pounds of pressure with my right hand and only 19 on my left. And my left is back up to 60. And I'm got full range of motion. My typing is getting a little better. Still a little bit of a range of motion issues. My leg is doing really well. They had me doing leg presses last week about 225 pounds, which I don't think I could do before the stroke. So I might end up as a net gain. Who knows? Still, you don't have some issues, but I'm working through it all, and I try to maintain a real positive attitude. I'm down 20 pounds. Um, I went to my doctor today, and he was so happy with my blood pressure numbers and stuff that he's like, "You don't need to come back for 6 more months." So I couldn't ask for it to be much better than it is.
I mean, the plus side is number one, you're getting better. That's the main thing. Number two is as a added bonus, shedding some pounds is always good anyway.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But that's why I kind of watch and make sure what I do because I family history, we've got blood pressure, diabetes, don't I don't want any of that. I'm 51, I don't want any of that crap. So I keep what I can down. So
Getting old is not for the young.
it's not.
It uh it can be challenging and your body changes and we're so used to doing things like my brain still thinks like I'm in my 20s and my body's like no you're not and it takes
And,
a little changing of your mindset.
the hardest part of that isn't just the physical attributes, right? Because you can work yourself around the physical part. It's the maybe the eating habits or
Sure.
stuff like this. Like I even had a conversation with Denise the other day, and I was telling her, I was like, well, I got news for you. I'm going to eat what I want until somebody tells me that I can't. And then when they tell me that I can't, I'm still going to eat what I want because I'm my mom's son, and Clark's going to follow suit. So she's like, that's great. That's great. You have that attitude.
I'm making changes. The the thing is, as you get older, your metabolism slows down, so you can't really eat as much. You shouldn't really eat as much to begin with. And so I'm making dietary changes and trying to build some better habits. And it is hard to undo a lifetime of bad decision making. It really is.
Yeah, it really is. I mean,
Yeah, it is.
and
But
people don't know it until they reach that threshold. And when they have to reach that threshold, and I haven't gotten there yet myself, and I'm sure there's going to be a time when the line's going to be drawn for me.
I am I am very motivated to make positive changes, and people in physical therapy were surprised that I was being discharged as quickly as I was, because I've really been working hard and working myself, probably harder than I should, but I was just resolute to get myself back as quick as I could. And one of the motivators for me was there was a night, and I know it's happened more than once, but there was a night I woke up in the middle of the night and I felt my wife's hand on my chest. She was she couldn't hear me breathing, and so she was reaching over to make sure I was still alive. And I was like, I've got to get myself better so she doesn't worry so much. That was really a
I got to
big motivator.
worry anyway, man. I mean, you're
I
not going
know.
to. I
No.
look how many miles away from you. And that's the thing. Like, I always kept thinking about this whole ordeal. And it's like, there's times when I've choked myself up because, I wanted to get on a plane and come out there. And the irony is, we've been doing this for so long, we haven't even gotten together in person.
Yeah, we've never met.
And that would have been a sad part, like that being what got us together. I'd rather have it gone with Clark involved. But that being said, I mean, being this many miles away, I mean, I get worried. I mean, you and I have grown close over the years, and, I consider you a very close friend and a family member at that, even though you're distant, but your Uncle Myron, and I'm glad everything's healing, man. I'm glad it's getting
Yeah,
better.
it's getting there. The weirdest thing is I still have the strange nerve sensations. There's no nerve pain, and I haven't lost like sensation, but I feel pressure in places where there's nothing pressing on me. Um, and
Interesting.
nothing's going to change about that. A friend of mine, her husband has had two strokes, and he explains that he has the exact same things that I'm experiencing. So I know it's not abnormal, but boy, does it feel weird. I often feel like I have a bandage wrapped around my foot, and there's nothing there, but I feel that pressure of like a bandage on my foot. It's just weird. Our bodies are weird things.
They are.
But back to the Green Lantern news. They announced Todd McFarlane figures announced a Superpowers Guy Gardner figure based on his appearance in the Superman movie. So he's got the Justice Gang is what they're being called, the Justice Gang uniform you see in the trailer. Interesting though, the figure is just basically a repaint of the other Guy Gardner figure, so it doesn't look at all like Nathan Fillion. I don't believe. I think they tried to get a little bit of a facial look like that, but that's interesting. But go ahead.
I was looking at some of the outfits like Hawkgirl, and they all look like they're based off of Mr. Terrific's concept, like
Yeah.
like they're all part of the same group, which I'm assuming may or may not be like a Justice League International.
Apparently, they've come out and said that they're officially called the Justice Gang.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, apparently there's been some figures that got released or something got leaked where they were called the Justice Gang. Originally, I think people were talking about the outfits looking like the Terrifics outfits, which it certainly
Yeah,
did.
that may mean Plastic Man at some point would probably come into play.
I think Metamorpho looks really interesting.
Mhm.
He's really kind of captured my interest.
Yeah, that's pretty cool what they've done with them. Oh, I think the movie's gonna be. I think it's gonna be a hit, man. I think it's got a good tone, and especially that's what that needs. I mean, one person said something, and this is through all the history of DC has ever done. The one thing that DC's never touched on is a lightened tone with a lighthearted movie that makes people feel good. And
Probably not since the '78 Superman film.
I mean, that's exactly my point, right? I mean, fast forward now and look at all the momentum growing around this film, and it's been associated with a lot of it with Christopher Reeves. Even the recent events with that script release and stuff like that, and then the whole anniversary of the movie. It's just it's going to hit on a lot of cylinders this summer, and I hope it does well.
I think Warner Brothers has really put in a lot into the marketing of this film because a lot depends on it. The rumors
Yeah.
are that if this movie doesn't do well, that they may be on the for sale block. So we'll
And
see.
you
We'll,
drew
we'll
your
see.
sword when you drew your sword. I mean, you're going to fall on it. You might as well just do it.
Right, right.
On with the show.
That's right. More Lanterns news. They just announced here this past week that an actor by the name of Paul Ben Victor, who I'm not familiar with, but if you've seen The Wire, you've probably seen him on that show. But he's going to have a recurring role as a character called Antan, an extraterrestrial devoted to exposing the truth and taking vengeance on those who wronged his people. And the character's description reads that he is consumed by a deep and unrelenting hatred for the law and is determined to deliver justice on his own terms. Of course, the internet rumor mill is turning him into Atrocitus. So
Uh,
they're saying, it's going to have Sinestro and Atrocitus and Black Hand. I don't know. I don't think they're going for Green Lantern lore in this
I
one.
don't know. I'm not buying that with Atrocitus. I mean,
No, me either.
consumed by a deep and unrelenting hatred for law is pretty specific. The Reds, a deep and relent, it's anger, not hatred. Anger is a lot different of an emotion than hatred. And this is specific with the law. So anyway, I mean, it
Yeah,
could just,
we'll see. But I don't think that it's Atrocitus. I think that we mentioned this analogy that it seems like a detective show written with Green Lantern kind of pasted on it. I think the only parts of Green Lantern lore that are going to make it into the show are the characters themselves and how the rings work and that they can fly. Because we're not seeing any casting of characters that have any tie to Lantern lore other than Sinestro. Right down to John's parents' names are being changed. So I don't think that's the case. The other thing was over on the Blog of Our Facebook group, we showed in the last episode some pictures from the set that were taken by a Facebook member named Ed Stanton, and he recently posted some new pictures he took from the set. I don't know whether he like goes there in the weekends and takes pictures because he's got like selfies with some of the stuff that he posted. But some of the set
I want to meet Ed.
yeah, yeah, me too. Some of the things that were different from the last set of pictures was one of the buildings shows some extensive damage, and I'll put the picture for that up here for those watching on YouTube. And there were two pictures of cars that were pretty burnt out and totaled. And at first you might think they were the same vehicle, but when you look closely, they're two different vehicles. So definitely some things going on the set. And then there was a video that got leaked. I don't know whether it was an actual leak or whether it was a stunt leak, but it showed a flying stunt coordinator showing how the flying effects are going to be done with a harness. Uh, so apparently there is going to be flying in the move in the TV show.
Fandom is nothing if not on top of it. I'll tell you.
Right, right. There will be
I
no.
mean, any news is worth the news, right?
That's right. That's right.
That's
All right.
fantastic. Hats off to the people that are out there that do this, man. I mean, I would love to be in your shoes. I would love to be close in proximity because I'd be doing the same thing. I got to go out for a couple hours. I'll be back, drive down the road to where they're shooting this. I would be all over that.
I'd be like hiding in the hills with a telescopic lens, taking pictures of the set when they're filming to see
What
what
a
I can
good time.
see.
Good time, Ed. Good for you, Ed. Thanks.
Yes, yeah. Thank you for posting those. So we've got a comic book to talk about. Why don't we take a quick break and we'll come back and we'll talk Green Lantern number 22.
Love it. Love it.
In brightest day or blackest night, there's only one place to listen to the best in Green Lantern. That's the podcast of Oa.
Welcome back, fellow Owens. We open DEO headquarters, planet Earth. Issue Highway to Hell. What an opening. What a
Yeah.
great issue. I mean, when you said this was good and I didn't read it yet, and then I picked it up and read it, and I was like, wow, he wasn't lying. This is good writing.
And Zermanico is back. Great to see him back on art.
Manico's back. Hector Hammond, the different reimagined Hector Hammond.
Yeah, the air quote cured Hector Hammond, who looks a lot like Sinestro, but
He does, especially in the one where he's, pointing at his head.
yeah, yeah. But yes, yeah, Hector Hammond is back and as bad as ever after injecting some brain juice into his brain.
Right.
And I thought this opening scene was really neat because we get to see Hal and Carol team up in a fight that has some real meaning to it with somebody who's really a threat. And I just thought it was really neat. And I loved the inner monologue of Hal as he's reflecting about Carol and how she's progressing as a superhero. I thought that was really kind of cool.
What? I was a little off put by Dove being there. Was she in the last issue? Maybe I
Yeah,
just
when they got to the DEO headquarters, she snuck in to see what was going on, to see if there was any bad stuff going on.
gotcha. Okay. All right. I thought I missed something. All right.
Yeah. And I like we see Hal as a tactician here putting together a plan to take Hammond down. What I've noticed as Jeremy Adams is writing this book more and more, we're seeing Hal emerge as the confident hero that we've always known he is. We're not seeing a lot of the kind of bad decision making. And I liked him coming up with a plan with Carol using terminology that she would know and using Dove and taking Hector down. I just thought it was kind of a neat little, and they made quick work of him, sure. But you also had three people. I love the when Hector Hammond goes to to reveal his coworkers. He's like, say hello to the DEO. Like it's a big, like it's a big. It's like okay, so it's the DEO. But they take Hal and Carol and Dove take down the DEO in pretty short order. Granted, the DEO are not in their own minds at this point. Hector's controlling them. But I thought it was really a neat, a very strong opening with a nice action sequence. And then it cuts over to Omega, Reach Outpost Omega. And you and I, when we talked last episode, I was thinking that this was Ted Cord because of the Blue Beetle connection. We were half right. There is the Blue Beetle connection, but it's Dan Garrett, the Golden Age Blue Beetle.
But, yeah, they went way back with them. I didn't know who it was at first. I had to look it up.
Oh, I know it was once I saw the name. I just in my mind when I saw the character and the Blue Beetle stuff around him, I looked at Ted Cord. That's as far back as my brain goes when it comes to
Yeah.
Blue Beetle. Other than knowing who Dan Garrett is, cool to see Jeremy Adams bringing that character back. I hope that it's going to be used. Like I'd like to see him become a part of the JSA or something. That'd be kind of neat. And we see, the little bit of a story here, and giant spiders and stuff show up, and Kyle and Connor can't go off to deal with that, while Odyssey is going to try and help uh, Dan get himself out of trouble. And I thought that was neat. That was a nice setup. And it jumps back again to Hal and Carol and Mr. Bones. And I just loved this scene where
Oh, the best scene in this book.
to me, it's the highlight of the book where Mr. Bones is trying to assert his authority, and Hal's like, you're here, I'm here. So yeah, no, I really liked, how Hal uses his leverage here, and I love the spot where Carol says to him that, I know he can be a bit much, but please don't try him. He'll do it, and what's worse, he'll smile the entire time. I just thought this was such a great character scene.
Well, it goes to show the relationship value, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
and Jeremy's reflecting that in his writing because I think he's getting the crux of, there's an interplay between them two that a lot of people tend to tap dance around, and it's firm here and they sound like they're a partnership. Not only, I mean, they just sound like a couple that's having a good
right,
time.
right. And Carol's just watching Hal run with it, and I think she's just trying to reinforce everything, saying, you really don't want to mess with him. I thought it was just, I don't know, it was just a well-written scene, and I loved seeing Hal talk his way through the situation and not try to strong arm his way through it. So I really liked it.
And then the big reveal with Dan Garrett,
I
right?
The other thing I didn't comment on was when they dealt with Hector and Hal knocked out Hector, and Dove was like, "Did you have to hit him?" And Hal's like, "Well, no, I didn't have to." I think Jeremy Adams is really hitting the good character beats.
Well, like you had mentioned with Hal Jordan, I mean, it feels like with Hal Jordan since issue one, and we're going to go back to the beginning here. It seems like his confidence has gotten um, more precise, right?
Yeah,
I mean, he's not arrogant, and I don't think he's coming across as arrogant. And
No.
at least I don't feel that when he's talking. A lot of it I perceive as is I was like, wow, he's just really, really his confidence is really off the charts,
Yeah.
and he's not putting up with crap from anybody.
No, and he's not cocky. He's
No,
confident with what he's doing, and he's going to put Mr. Bones in his place because he's not going to deal with the baloney, which I thought was really neat. But yeah, we go back to the scene with Connor and Kyle trying to take on these creatures and having a little bit of a hard time with it. And I never would have thought the Silver Scarab thing was going to happen. I don't know if you're familiar with Silver Scarab, but again, another old character. A different person was the Silver Scarab, different costume, but it looks like it's definitely tied to the modern Blue Beetle mythology. The costume that you see for Silver Scarab is a different version of what was originally in the comics, but that diagonal stripe down the front, that's very much in tune with the older character design. And the Silver Scarab that he's got in his buckle used to be on the chest of the older character. Interesting to see what this is going to turn out to be.
yeah, I was a bit surprised that a character drop happened. I was expecting like
Yeah.
a villain or something. He was going to turn into a villain.
Right, right.
I mean, but then this happened. It's like, all right, well, now what does he have to do with it, right? I mean, because
Right.
obviously there's some kind of significance with him and whatever he got a hold of.
I was like you, I was waiting for a swerve, right? And it didn't happen. And the Silver Scarab, interestingly enough, does have connections back to the Hawks.
Oh,
The
really?
the original Silver Scarab, if I remember correctly, his name was Hector Hall, and he was the son of Carter Hall and Shayera Hall.
Interesting.
Now, maybe I've got it wrong because brain damage, but that's my built-in excuse now. Uh, but if I recall correctly, that was the history of the character. So it's interesting. You've got over in the Green Lantern Corps book, you've got some Thanagarian stuff going on, and you've kind of got a character here who also has ties back to that. I like the fact that they're playing off of the other cosmic elements because right now, Green Lantern and Green Lantern Corps are the only cosmic books DC has out there.
Yeah, that's really, yeah, that's true.
We
I
then,
don't read that much. Well, Aquaman's definitely not cosmic.
no, no. The scene shifts to Ireland.
This is where I got it really excited, man. Seeing the
Yeah,
fan, man. Oh,
seeing the Phantom Stranger and as I want to say Azrael. Is it Azrael? No, it's not Azrael. It's Zoriel. There we go.
yeah.
Azrael was the guy that was Batman for a while. I've always gotten their names crisscrossed because of the Z's in it, I guess. But it's interesting, Phantom Stranger's like, this is foolish, this is a mistake. What better characters for Hal to take with him to go to hell?
I mean, really, it seemed like he had this plan already set in motion. I mean, because obviously when he met with Mr. Bones, he went in there knowing he was going to flip that on a coin. He was going to get something from him, right?
Right,
So
right.
part of his setup. He has it, so he knows something here.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it is he's trying to retrieve from hell. That's what I've been trying to figure out because they're looking for things to make power batteries, and I can't think of what's in hell that he'd want that has anything to do with that. But we'll see what Adams is building towards. But it's interesting to see them go and unlock the gates of hell, and then Sorrow shows up. So he's not with them yet, but they jump through the portal and head down. And I was shocked to see Nort at the end.
Well, not only Nora, but then look who's coming in the next issue.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah. Wait,
oh,
which only makes sense because we haven't had a lot of interactions with Hal and the Spectre since he was the Spectre.
yeah. I mean, this is good. This is untapped territory. This is going to be
Yeah,
good stuff. Even with the Phantom Stranger thrown in there, it makes it interesting.
sure, sure.
Who's going
Nort,
to
it's interesting how Nort ended up in hell. So I'm not sure how he ended up there. The last time I think we saw Nort was during the Thorn run. You remember back during, I know it's the dark times, but when you go back to the Thorn run, there was that issue where all the Green Lanterns were being given different jobs, and some of them were going on
Yeah,
quests. So
yeah, yeah.
what Nort was in the background, and Nort's name was called as going on a quest. And I don't think we've seen him since then. There was a character in one of the earlier issues in this run where a character looked like he could have been Nort, but he had a face mask on, and Nort doesn't wear a face mask, so I don't think that was him. So how Nor ended up here, we don't know. I'm assuming we will find out. I'm assuming that's going to be part of the conversation between Hal and Nort when
But is
we're
it I guess the bigger question is that's not if that's not who's Hal was looking for. I mean,
right,
because obviously he says you got to be kidding me, right?
right. So it wasn't who he was expecting.
So what do you go down there for then?
Right,
Right?
right,
Not only that, I mean, so it would have tracked good theory wise had this would have pinned off of the Thorn run and he went on his quest. Hal knew that and went down there to look for Nord,
right, right.
right? But
And that could be what happened. That could have been where his quest took him, or he died. But I can't imagine Nort going to hell.
I mean, well, why would he? He's an alien. Do they believe in hell? I mean, what religion is Nord? I mean,
Right, right. Yeah,
I
there's that.
mean, Christianity goes to hell, right? I mean, so I mean,
Well,
just
there was
spitballing here.
there's also, if you remember back during the Johns run, there was that Emerald Space or the Emerald. It might have been called Emerald Space. I can't remember the name just now, where a lot of the dead Green Lanterns were.
Well,
So I don't know.
it's actually hell. I mean, because he obviously goes through through magic, right? Well, it's purgatory, St. Patrick's purgatory. What
Yeah,
does
I
he say?
guess we'll see. This was just a good teaser, right?
And then it says in that little thing down there, look it up. Did you see that?
Yeah, it's a real place.
Oh, that's that little cathedral there.
I don't know if the cathedral itself is the real thing, but I've seen. I went out and looked, of course, and it's an island in Ireland, and there is some of those kind of buildings there. So it's a real place, which is neat that we're making reference to the real world. And I don't think that Hal was my initial thought was maybe Hal was going for the Spectre intentionally, but the way the teaser is for the next issue, it almost implies that Hal isn't expecting to see the Spectre here.
Yeah, it's a never saw it coming. So it's weird that he gets the key because he obviously needed to get the key from Bones. So that means he had some kind of purpose,
Right.
right?
And I like again the fact that Hal has a strategy, he has a game plan, because so often it's portrayed as he doesn't plan. And we've talked about rapid cognition a number of times, and I fully believe in that whole thing. But to see Hal come up with a plan and this is what we're going to do, and he's bringing in resources to help him. Some people would rate Hal where he would go by himself, right? He'd be cocky and he'd just go and do it himself. He realizes he needs backup. He realizes he needs a couple people with him.
Well, not only that, he must have talked to Phantom Stranger beforehand because Phantom Stranger says, again, this is foolish, you
Right.
know.
I don't imagine he has the Phantom Stranger's number in his Rolodex. Boy, I just aged myself there. Uh, but I
He's right.
imagine maybe through the Justice League.
I suppose. We're all conjecture here, folks. We just
Sure.
wish to fill in the gaps.
That's right.
I want
I
to know
also
I want to pick his brain. I want to know what he's thinking and why you put these characters in there like this and what they're doing.
I think it's time to reach out and try to get him back on the show again.
We need to. It's been 2 years.
I think
I
so.
got
It's been close to 2 years.
two
I,
more issues. It'll be 24.
I know he's at a comic book convention this weekend. Maybe I'll reach out to him next week and see if he can come back on.
He's swell. It looks like he's going to be on this title for a little bit. And I got news for you. He keeps
I hope
writing like
so.
he ain't going anywhere. And I don't want him to go anywhere.
Yeah.
But and here's another thing. He's great on Aquaman. Dude can write Aquaman too.
He's just a good all-around writer. I think, he admits to the fact that he doesn't know everything and he makes mistakes. And the fact that he admits it is great because some writers would be all egotistical about it. And,
Or
you know,
they shoehorn their own little, well, it's somebody else's concept and I made it my own crap
I
line.
do like that he's pulling some elements out of DC history and reusing them.
Well, it's that nostalgia thing, man. I mean, that's why, like with the Superman movie coming out, I think it's going to hit a nostalgic note. I mean, especially having crypto in there, right? I mean, right? Family values. I mean, everybody loves dogs, right? And most families have dogs, whatever. But I don't know. I always thought that DC should go back to their original formula of stuff, and start bringing back characters that they don't utilize anymore, and start banking some of these top tier guys and stuff that's not doing that well.
Yeah, I think sometimes that some of the lesser known characters would do really well in the times we're in right now. Because you could write them in a fresh approach in a way that is respectful of the way they've always been written, but you're exposing them to a new audience because maybe they haven't been in print for quite a while. And it would be something new and exciting and different. I think that's why there's been such a response to the Absolute books.
That's what happened with Iron Man. He was a what second tier character before he hit the big screen, and look
Oh
what
yeah.
happened.
Really, if Marvel hadn't sold the rights to the Fantastic Four and the X-Men and Spider-Man, you wouldn't have seen a lot of what we got. Because
No, definitely not.
Captain Marvel and Iron Man and Captain America, excuse me, and Iron Man were not top tier characters for Marvel. They are
Not.
now, but
I remember reading them back in the day, and they weren't talked about it like they are. They definitely weren't
no,
talked
no,
like they are now. Mm-mm.
no, you're right. You're right. All right, my friends. Well, my power ring is going off. We've got some listener feedback to get caught up on, so why don't we jump into that here in a minute?
This is Razor, and you are listening to the blog of Oa. You need to keep listening, otherwise I will track you down with all of my skill, and you will feel my wrath.
Our first message is from Dr. Horner 92. He is relatively new to comics and likes Green Lantern. Transmitting in 3, 2, 1.
Thank you guys for what you do. I'm new to comics, and GL has easily been far above everyone else for me. Awesome to have a place to gather opinions and breakdowns on such an amazing universe. Wish good health and peace to both of you.
All right, Dr. Horner 92. What a thing. What a nice little thing to say. We wish you good health and peace to both of you. It is fun when Myron and I sit on here and we do this podcast and we share our opinions about, what comes out to the general public. And I will say that, their opinions, and that's the important part that needs to be focused on, right? It's just stuff that we ramble about, our ideas, crap in our head. Doesn't mean it's factual, doesn't mean it's firm news. It just means it's our opinions. And it doesn't mean that it's any better than anybody else's. So there you go.
Yep.
Thank you, Dr. Horner 92.
Yeah, yeah. Welcome to the core, and I'm glad you're tuning in, and hope that we are adding something to your fan experience, and hope you stick around.
New to comics too. I mean, imagine that perception, right? New to
Right,
comics.
right. Imagine coming in and jumping in new.
Especially with the vastness of what it is now. Even when you and I jumped in, it wasn't, I mean, it was deep, but there's a lot of stuff. Right
Yeah,
on.
yeah. So I hope you stick around. I hope you're loving GL as much as we are. I don't know if you've gone back and are rereading the old stuff, or if you've just kind of jumped on at the Jeremy Adams run and are going forward. But there's so much history here. There's so much. And if one thing that we've learned over the years is continuity doesn't really mean a whole lot as much as we would like it to sometimes. So don't get wrapped up in worrying about all the details of past history too much. But enjoy the ride. Enjoy the ride.
Continuity issues.
All right, Power Ring, why don't you give us the next one?
The next message is from our friend Tommy at World at War Comics. Transmitting in 3, 2, 1.
Damn it, Myron. Something is in my eye. Glad you're doing better.
Hey, Tommy, thanks so much for leaving a comment. Yeah, that episode when I was first talking about the stroke, I kind of got emotional. It was a lot to go through. It was a lot to process. And you go through something like that, and you're wondering if your life is going to ever be the same again, or how you're going to lose quality of life. What do you got to look forward to? You go through a whole roller coaster of emotions, and I thought I was doing good talking about it, but when we were recording, I just kind of lost it a little bit and got emotional. And I appreciate you, your support and your words. I am doing much better. So, I don't know what else to say other than that, but thank you.
Well, Tommy, man, got some mad interviews over there.
Yeah, if you guys haven't checked out the World at War Comics YouTube channel, Tommy does some great interviews. He's actually gotten Jeff Johns on, which is something I've been trying to accomplish for 14 years, and got close once, but has not happened yet. But yeah, he got to interview Jeff Johns. He's had some great interviews on early on. When he was cutting his teeth, he actually had us on for an episode, which was a lot of fun.
That was fun. Oh, good times. Thanks, Tommy.
Powering, why don't you give us the next one?
The next message is from Highball 1417, who has a comment about Sinestro returning as a Green Lantern. Transmitting in 3, 2, 1.
I didn't like Sinestro going green again because it's just a rehash of when Jeff Johns did it. As much as I like Jeremy Adams, he has been reusing a lot of the same things from that run.
Highball 1417. Very cool. I like that. Hey, I don't know about Sinestro going green. I mean, you're right. It's a rehash of what Johns did. But in a writer's defense, it's not really a rehash when it's repurposed, right? I mean, there might be a different strategy here with Sinestro. What I don't want to see happen is I don't want to see the trope where Sinestro turns on everybody and whatever, blah, 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 blah,
Yeah,
blah. You know,
yeah.
I don't need that. If they're gonna do it, then they better do it in a good and a provocative way.
You're exactly right. You're exactly
That's
right.
what I'm saying. Otherwise, I agree with the highball here. You know,
Yeah. If he just does the traditional swerve and Sinestro goes yellow again, that will suck. I have
and
faith that Adams is going to do something different with it. I hope.
and somewhere along the way, Saronic Natu is going to have to play a part in something. I don't know where
Yeah.
it's at. What's something with the yellow? So if you want to involve some kind of father-daughter dynamic, I'll take it. I'll eat that with the soup ladle.
And
Thanks,
it seems like, there are a lot of concepts and things that Johns has did that are being used in different ways. And I'm okay with it as long as it doesn't end up being a carbon copy and we do some new and interesting things. And I think we're getting some new and interesting things from Adams. But appreciate your comment. Power Ring, give us the next piece of listener feedback.
Our friend JP Roca has a comment about the fractured spectrum. Transmitting in 3, 2, 1.
I thought the spectrum is fractured. The different core are volatile, so characters can and do change core as their mood changes. Also, this is why there is a guardian for each core.
Hey JP, yeah, the whole spectrum being fractured, we don't really understand how it works. It's a little confusing. It seems like anybody can manifest anything, which it seems like you have a lot more people getting power rings out of the blue. So I'm kind of cautiously optimistic about how this is going to pan out. I want to see what's going to happen more with it as time goes on. I just hope it isn't too much of a gimmick.
It seems like there's a lot of like sub story, but not enough like they're not talking about the fractured spectrum being a thing, right? It's like, all
Yeah.
right, so you call it fractured spectrum, so it's like what is this? It's like some ethereal thing that's in the atmosphere, and we're just supposed to automatically there's gonna be like a big drop at some point, and this is what happened. There's no clues or anything.
No. Well, it's
There's
interesting because you and I commented that there were two issues. There was an issue of Green Lantern Corps and an issue of Green Lantern where they were dealing with somebody who had manifested part of the emotional spectrum, and then they just kind of dropped it. And I think my biggest criticism of Jeremy's run is that it's like everywhere there's a plot, but they don't all get wrapped up, and sometimes there's not enough exposition to let you know what's really going on.
yeah.
And like JP, I don't know why there are Guardians with different logos on their chest. I don't have a clue, and it hasn't really been explained. It's just another one of those what's going on kind of thing. And again, if I have a criticism of the run, it seems like things are moving so quickly, and plots and subplots are being moved around so much, but not enough of them are being resolved or getting us enough information to know really what's going on. Like we see everybody's worried about Starbreaker and Sorrow building their own power batteries, but we don't see them actually doing that. We see Sorrow chasing around behind Hal and Kyle to get whatever they're getting, but they're not doing their own plan. So if our guys weren't going after those things, would they actually do this stuff? There's not enough. Like Starbreaker should be more in the forefront.
Was
And
neither of them were even in this issue
no, neither one of them were.
or mentioned. So it's like, all right, well, so we took a
Well,
pause from,
Sorrow was in this issue. Sorrow shows up in near the end.
oh, that is that him at the end?
Yeah, at the end, he goes in, he follows Hal and the Phantom Stranger and Zuriel into that building. So
Oh,
he's behind them. He's following. So he's going to be going to hell pretty soon too.
oh, well.
So he was there, but again, he's there following Hal to get what Hal's going to get. He's going to try to take it from Hal. Well, if Hal didn't do this, what was their plan?
Right.
So little things like that, I totally get it. There are some things I look at. Sometimes I look at the run. I'm like, well, we've got dangling plot threads everywhere, and they're not moving all. It's so different than the way we are used to experiencing things, where there's usually like a main plot and a couple of subplots, and they all kind of wrap up in good order with each other. And here we have things that just kind of hang out there for a while. Uh, hard to say how it's all going to turn out. I'm optimistic. I trust Jeremy Adams as a writer. I'm hoping he can just stick the landing correctly.
Exactly. 2 years in, he's still going strong though.
Yeah, yep.
Give it to him.
Power Ring, why don't you play the next message?
The next message is from our friend Santiago from Argentina. He has some feedback about Green Lantern issue 20. Transmitting in 3, 2, 1.
Hi, Lanterns. I just read issue 20. Great read. Hal had some action, and Kyle's part had a very 90s vibe. It may have seemed like a bit of a step back for the character, but being a 90s kid, I loved it. The art was also very good. I'm not a big fan of the Sorrow Lantern, but I think that Jeremy's run has started to take off big time. And one issue without Kelly, Baz, or John's construct sister is something to celebrate. As always, I really appreciate your podcast and look forward to your review.
All right, Santiago from Argentina. That's awesome. Hey, first of all, yes, I want to second what you said about one issue without Kelly, Baz, or John's construct sister is something to celebrate, right? I mean, it really is.
Yeah, yeah.
He's not wrong. From this many miles away, hats off to you, Santiago. So yeah, I like what you said, man. I want to see more of Kyle because I think something's going on with that part of the story arc with this run. And then there's going to be something that's going to be pivotal with Kyle later on. I feel like there's a lead up, but I feel like there's something I'm missing. I just can't pick up for it because I didn't grow up with Kyle. I mean, he wasn't my jam, so to speak. But
So Phil, let me ask you, do you like in this issue where it cuts back and forth? Are you a fan of that? Or like me, I'm okay with it, but I'd almost rather it be Kyle's part was in the back of the book. All of that stuff was self-contained, and the Hal stuff was self-contained. But
I guess it depends on the narrative, and I guess it
yeah,
depends on the structure, right? I mean, I don't feel I they seem like they're two separate storylines, and I'm sure at some point there's going to be down the line they're going to have to intertwine or they're going to have to meet because otherwise, what's the purpose of doing them simultaneously, right? The whole
right,
time.
right.
I mean, they got to both lead to some general direction that's going to have to reach a point. Now, I don't mind that the narrative twists like this when they go back and forth. I do think it's a little confusing when neither story that it's being told has nothing to do with one another. And
Yeah,
that's been the case with this. I don't see any points of interest on both sides that intersect that says, yeah, it seems like what they're doing over there is totally different from what's going on over here.
yeah. I think I would feel differently if the stories were more closely connected, because it feels like we've just got two different stories and we've cut them together. Now, I do like the fact that when he cuts between the two different stories, it's at a logical place.
Right.
The scene is changing or what have you.
It's not jarring by any means.
No,
Don't get me wrong.
no.
It's an easy transition. It just, I mean, to be quite honest with you, you could have two separate books and it would be the same outcome because
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, but we're not in a Green Lantern core book here.
No.
This is just Green Lantern.
I remember back in the day when you had the Tales of the Green Lantern Corps. You had gosh, who else did they have in the back? I can't remember just now, but they used to have backups, and it used to be a Tales of the Green Lantern Corps, or it used to be, um, gosh, what is the character's name? I'm losing my mind. Adam Strange. Used to have Adam
Oh,
Strange in the back, and those stories weren't connected at all, so it seemed rather logical for it to be a separate thing altogether. And
right.
there are times when I'm like, well, geez, I almost wished it was that way. And then there are times like in this issue, I thought it worked rather well. Other times I felt like I'm following the story and all of a sudden I have to stop and change gears. So
Yeah.
sometimes it's a reading experience. So I like it one way better than the other. It depends on like you said, like it depends on the narrative.
I mean, that's kind of how I felt with I don't know. I mean, I hope at some point there's a resolve to both of these storylines, and I hope they intersect. That's all I got to say. Because if not, then it's all for naught, and that'll be kind of a little bit of a disappointment.
Yeah, yeah. Somewhere along the way, they've got to get back together again. Power Room, we got one more left to get caught up. Why don't you go ahead and give us the last message?
Our last message is from our friend Cloned Avenger. He has some comments about the Lantern show and Green Lantern Corps co-writer Morgan Hampton. Transmitting in 3, 2, 1.
Glad to hear you're improving with your hand strength, Myron. I wish you and your family all the best, as well as Phil's. If Myron ends up liking Lanterns, it may be the greatest TV series of all time. I am still excited for it, but the criticism and skepticism is valid. I've only really cared for one Tom King comic, and it was Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. I do think James Gunn means Lanterns may not have a lot of tie-ins to Superman, but it's definitely still in continuity for the new DCU. He said Lanterns is impacted by Creature Commandos animated series recently. I'm still enjoying all the GL comics, but it is disappointing hearing yet another writer being a straight-up Hal hater.
Hey, Clone Avenger, thanks so much. Things are getting better, as I mentioned earlier in the episode. Thank you for the well wishes for both Phil and I and our families. The same to you. Yeah, and if I end up liking Lanterns, it may be the greatest TV series of all time. It will be a miracle. I don't even know how I'm going to watch it at this point because I've canceled my Max subscription. But I guess if the word of mouth is good, I might add it back in just so I can watch it. I don't know. I just we've beat this horse to death. I'm not going to go into it anymore. But
And so hold on, though, before we go any further, before we step away from that too quickly. I mean, what happens if you do like it, though? There's got to be some kind of there's got to be something on the other end of this that we can all appreciate. Because if you do, you're gonna have to eat you're gonna have to eat pie, right?
that's okay. That's why I'm losing weight.
So there has to be something here that we have to glean from this if you're gonna. I mean, what happens if you love it? What are you gonna do?
I'll eat crow. That's fine. I am perfectly fine with it. I would like to be wrong. Let me just put it out there. I would like to be wrong. I would
There,
like to
and
be this to be great. It just I'm not feeling it.
and that's the thing. That's the thing that can be tricky about stuff like this, right? You would like to be wrong,
Mhm,
as but at the end of the day, think about how positioned you are on this.
mhm.
And but also think about it if it does happen and all of a sudden you're like, what the wow, I really like this. That's a prime feeling.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When you're surprised, the surprise factor of what it does. I'm not saying it's going to happen to you. I mean, I don't think it's
Yeah.
going to. I honestly have no hope that you're going to like this show at all. And I have a feeling that it's going to be a rip fest in between Mike's sessions where we're talking about. That being said, it's gonna be fun if you do like it though. I'm gonna watch.
Yeah. I want to be wrong. I do want to be wrong because more than anything, I want a good adaptation of Green Lanterns. It just for me, it all and for a lot of people, it hinges on how well you portray Hal, and making him 60 just doesn't instill anybody with confidence.
I think Clone Avenger needs to send you a crow because man, when this comes and you have to do that you have to do that live. So I love it.
We'll have to come up with something that I'll have to do it's embarrassing that I'll have to do on camera if I like it. I
We
don't know
got
what
we
that
got
is yet, but
we got some time and we got plenty of set pictures to look through leading up to it. So maybe you'll get your excitement. We'll start
of
growing.
course, if it ever makes the light of day.
I mean, first trailer drops, man. What are you gonna do? I have a feeling the first trailer is going to drop, and it's not going to show anything to do with Green Lantern. It's going to be all like some kind of human
Probably, probably not. Probably not.
welcome to Whoville.
And yeah, the comment about the writer of Green Lantern Corps, uh, it's disappointing. Like you said, it's disappointing to see a writer who hates a character of a franchise they're writing. And I made the analogy of imagine if you were a record producer and you said that you thought that Paul McCartney was the worst artist ever, and you end up producing a Beatles album. Uh, I mean, we all know history is such that there won't be another Beatles album, but I'm just using it as an example. it's just not a good look. And it makes people like myself, and, and I'm not exclusive in my skepticism of things and the way that Warner Brothers and DC handles Hal, because there's been enough reasons to warrant that. It makes it hard when you see something like that. It immediately, there's a little light that goes on in the back of your brain. It's like, here we go again. They're going to crap all over the character, and it doesn't instill confidence. And more than anything, I want to feel confident about this. Green Lantern means a lot to me. Recently, going through what I've been through, even more now than ever, has it been important for me. And I know it's important to a lot of other people too. That's
It's
why I
not
think it needs to be treated well.
it's not cool when a writer throws shade on a brand, right? I mean, you
Sure.
may not like the brand, I don't like Pepsi, and I don't like but I don't shade the brand just because I don't like Pepsi. Doesn't mean there's 50 million other people that like Pepsi more than I do.
Right.
But nothing more disrespectful and more like demeaning than throwing shade on on endorsing your brand. I mean,
But it'd be one thing. I mean,
this is Coke, by the way.
it's Godzilla, Kong, Pepsi,
Yeah,
Coke. Uh, but it's one thing to have an opinion as a human being about a product. But it'd be different if I worked in the soft drink manufacturing world and I made comments about Pepsi, and then I went to work at Pepsi, right?
right.
Same difference. Same difference. Or Coke.
Right
All right. Well,
on, Clone Avenger.
yeah, that's right. So, Power Ring, before we go, why don't you tell everybody how they can be a part of the show?
You can become a part of the show by leaving a message up to 1 minute long on our voicemail line. Call us at 406-POD-OA. That's 406-763-6362. You can also email us at podcast@blogofoa.com. We'd love to hear from you.
Well, fellow Owens, welcome back. Here we are. That was a fun episode. It was a
Oh,
good
yeah.
time. But it was a fire issue. Think back and listen to the episodes where we had to talk about the Jeff Thorne run and how depressed we might have sounded. At least we had a good time tonight. And
Yeah.
you're in good spirits, you're feeling great, and that's
Yeah.
the main thing. A lot to take from that.
And we're gonna record again probably next weekend. We're recording this on a Thursday night. I gotta have time to turn it around, and then next week I'm traveling for work most of the week, and I'm not getting back till Sunday afternoon, I hope. So we're hoping to record that Sunday night, and we'll let's either talk about Green Lantern Corps, or maybe we hold it until the next issue comes out, or we can talk about Absolute Green Lantern. Either way.
That's true too. That was an interesting issue, but yeah.
Yeah. I'd like to talk about it to get your thoughts, because we haven't talked about it even off mic, really.
You can do that.
So we'll be back in a couple weeks after this comes out. We'll have another episode out. We're hopefully back into the swing of things with regular content every couple of weeks, health permitting, and things are on an upswing. So we're gonna do it as much as we can while we can.
Hey, also before we go, shout out to the Nodell family.
Oh, yeah.
I did want to mention that they're moving out of the St. Louis area.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, I think they're moving your direction in the East Coast, but I'm not entirely sure where. But heads on, shout out to them. I know they listen, so they're yeah, we've had them on. Spencer's still up in Wisconsin though. I think
Is
he's
he?
staying.
Is he?
Yeah. So big shout out to them guys before we go.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love the family.
Yep.
So until next time, keep that power ring charged. Treat each other well and make every day your brightest day. Take it easy. Thanks so much for watching this Green Lantern video from the blog of OA. If you liked what you saw, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can find even more great Green Lantern videos, reviews, podcasts, and more at our main website, www.blogofoa.com. So until next time, keep your power ring charged and make every day your brightest day.